All right, now we're moving on to finding the domain of functions that have radicals in them. In the last set of examples, we talked about division by zero problems. Now we're going to be talking about finding the square roots of negative number problems when it comes to finding domain of functions. Okay, so we're looking at the function f of x is equal to square root of x. And we're looking for the set of all things that we cannot plug into this, and then taking the opposite to find the domain, because the domain is the set of all things that we can plug in without getting division by zero or without getting square roots of negative numbers. Okay, so looking at this, we have square root of x. What sorts of things intuitively can I not plug into this? As I mentioned, we can't have square roots of negative numbers. So I cannot plug in x is equal to -1, -3 bajillion. Can't plug in x is equal to even something slightly negative. Anything that has a negative sign I can't plug in. I can't even plug in like minus 0.000000001. Cannot plug that in because it has a minus sign, because can't take square roots of negatives. So how do we figure out the problem cases? So what we're going to do is take the thing on the inside of the radical, and then in order to find the domain, we want the thing on the inside of the radical to be greater than 0. So we're not, instead of looking at the things we can't plug in here, we're looking at the set of things we can. So thing on the inside is x. We want that to be greater than 0, because otherwise we're going to have square roots of negatives. But wait, can I plug in 0? The answer is yes, because if I took the square root of 0, 0 times 0 is equal to 0. So 0 is its own square root. So it's perfectly fine to plug in x is equal to 0. All right, so that's perfectly fine here. And therefore, because this is the set of things that we can plug in, the domain of f is precisely this. You might get away with writing this on a homework assignment or on online homework. You probably would be just fine. But the other way of doing it would be using interval notation. So the set of things I can plug in is a square bracket of 0 to infinity. The square bracket, as I mentioned before, denotes that we can plug in this endpoint here and be okay. So we're going from 0 to infinity, including 0, in which case this is the domain of the square root of x. We're going to be looking at more complicated examples in the next several videos. So hopefully you found this helpful. If so, like and subscribe.